played Dota 2 for thousands of hours, but you've always wanted something more. A reason to fight, a deeper meaning to your battles. But to know the hidden history of Dota 2, you must go on an adventure of a lifetime. An adventure into the lore!
While new hero releases can be exciting, Arcanas can be even more exhilarating, as the lore they bring typically expand on the Dota 2 universe at large, rather than just establishing the backstory of a new hero. Now, in case you missed out on the lore presented in Artifact, the Dota 2 universe is in constant flux. Every single game of Dota 2 you play is canon, as the Ancients have learned that whether one of them wins or loses the large-scale battle that you're participating in, Arc Warden will simply swoop in and take both of the weakened Ancients and throw them back into a prison of another Mad Moon. So, in a truce devised simply to ensure their freedom, both of the Ancients have agreed to use their powers to rewind time and restart the Battle of the Ancients over and over again forever. Now, people have discovered this, and the game of Artifact was used to manipulate history before the time loop that we are currently trapped in, to change the paths of the heroes enthralled by the Ancients. The goal? Simple. To find some combination, some perfect exact circumstance where the 10 heroes involved would destroy the Ancients at exactly the same time. A draw. You can't draw in Dota 2, but you can in Artifact, and lore-wise, that was the goal. Destroy both the Ancients at the exact same time so that neither could rewind time and start the endless loop again. Which brings us to cosmetics. Just like all matches of Dota 2 that we see are canon, so is every single cosmetic, as it is simply an alteration of the history of a hero. It could be from a time in the hero's past, or it could be a completely alternate version of that hero manipulated by the houses in Artifact in their vain attempts to get a draw from the Ancients. Pretty much all Arcanas can be explained with this lore. The Arcanas are a what-if situation, where something happens to the hero which wasn't in their original timeline, but their new path was inherently forged for them. Which, with all that out of the way, finally brings us to the Planetfall Earthshaker Arcana. The Planetfall Arcana for Earthshaker is massive. More than 500 voice lines, custom effects on the hero, items, spell effects, this baby's got the works. But it is not since the Juggernaut Arcana so many moons ago has an Arcana arrived that has raised so many questions when it comes to the lore. And if my predictions are right, these answers to those questions might change the way we look at the Dota 2 universe as a whole forever. So, let's get started. Now, when first looking at the Arcana, one immediately notices some Nordic influences. Earthshaker's face, his eye patch, his helm, his long white beard, these look extremely reminiscent of depictions of Odin. Celtic runes are also found on his helm, along with those elk horns. The set is heavily space-themed, with echo slams revealing constellations, stars, and lines, adorning most of the horns and other parts of the set. Yet, besides the general look of Earthshaker, that's kind of where the hints of Norse mythology really end. The rest of the lore is rather split between several different heroes, and so begins our first mystery. Now, before we start, let's remind ourselves of Earthshaker's original lore. To sum it up, Earthshaker is the Earth itself if it had grown sentient and created a creature to bring out its own wills. Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. In short, the soul itself of the planet Rue heard the commotion on the surface and grew curious as to what was going on. So curious, in fact, that it grew some rocks that became sentient, and they began to pull together to create a form that could explore the top side of the Earth. For whatever reason, they chose the form of Earthshaker, who travels the surface to see pretty much what's going on. He has the power to shape the Earth to his choosing. Basically, he has the power of tectonic plate moving, making earthquakes, and making large mountains, things like that. Very neat. Now, in Artifact, his story took a pretty cool turn. He wandered aimlessly for some time, frightened and without purpose, until he was found by Kana, the Herald of the Dire, who actually gave him his name, Earthshaker. He is one of the only heroes that's actually hard confirmed to be on a side in the War of the Ancients. He is officially a Dire hero. But, of course, we don't really know if Artifact is canon or not anymore due to, well, but anyway, let's just stick to Earthshaker's Dota 2 lore for now and ignore what happens to him in Artifact. The Arcana gives us this new scenario for Earthshaker. What if one of the rocks he used to forge himself with was a meteor from another world? Let's check out the official description of the Arcana. He who was one with the spirit of the earth has now merged with a fragment from another world. Flooded with distant memories of a shattered land, Earthshaker has already encountered one interstellar traveler, defeated at great cost, that had sought to eradicate the reborn power of the world awakening inside of him, and he senses more dark forces will soon arrive, intent on completing that task. For the first time in his life, he feels a longing to look upwards at the heavens, to somehow understand the apocalyptic end that found his sister Earth, and do whatever it takes to avenge her passing. Okay, wow, cool! ES has merged with a fragment of a different planet, and he can see the history and destruction of that planet through his own dreamlike memories. Now, in that description, we see some very interesting and specific word choices. Shattered lands, spirits, sister Earth. This language really reminds me of another Dota 2 hero, the Elder Titan. Elder Titan is, well, a Titan. Titans were world smiths, ones who created worlds. They toiled over their tasks, and the Elder Titan was one of their best. But with each new world that they created, they wanted only to improve and hone their craft. Eventually, they decided the only way to improve their product was to improve themselves. So they began to forge and hone their own souls in pursuit of perfection. But eventually, this bubble had to pop, and the Elder Titan shattered a world. Maybe not its physical form, but its spiritual form, its destiny. A world that perhaps was fateless, thrown into chaos, which was so powerful that he himself fell down into it and became trapped within. A world which was basically a magnet for anything lost or strange throughout time and dimensions, anything that fell through the cracks of normality and existence. All roads, across all planes, would lead to this shattered world. Now, of course, we have always imagined that this world was the world of Dota 2. The only reason why we see such strange assortments of beings on this one planet is perfectly explained by this lore. Aliens, gods, people, forces of nature, everyone is drawn to the shattered world. As any being's power grew, they, like a magnet, would be attracted to something so equal in pull, and the planet of Dota 2 would be that force that could drive all of them there, thanks to Elder Titan. Elder Titan's mission is pretty straightforward.
What long ago I shattered must be rendered whole.
But he also has a few interesting tidbits.
The great symmetry lies shattered.
The great symmetry lies shattered. Now, in ES's new lore, we hear about a connection to a sister Earth, a symmetry, an Earth linked to him much like the planet of which he was formed here, which is very interesting, because if we think in terms of Elder Titan, it can be a literal spirit world. We know that Elder Titan can form spirits from himself. He makes a symmetry between a spirit and a physical being, so perhaps that great symmetry is just that, a spirit that connects two worlds to one. one that balances both of those worlds together. Should one of those Earths fall, the effects would reverberate into another. Specific language from the Arcana seems to back this up, with talks of spirits and shattered lands. If you look at the effects of Echo Stomp and the new Echo Slam, they actually look extremely similar, both in effect and color. It really does seem like Elder Titan and Earthshaker are related here. Furthermore, check out the Immortal that was clearly designed to be used in conjunction with the Arcana. It is a hammer, almost like a smithing hammer. In fact, an old item in Dota 2 called the Artificer's Hammer, Artificer of course meaning smith, well, it looks very similar to this hammer, which is a fragment from his fallen sister Earth. So yeah, there are a lot of connections to Elder Titan here, but surprisingly, it just ends. Much like the Norse mythology lead, where he clearly looks like Odin, that's it. It's a dead end. There's no other references to spirits, shattered worlds, or anything beyond the official description of the Arcana. At the time of making this video, there's no official responses on the Dota 2 wiki for the set, so I actually had to go in myself, hack the game a little bit, and get my hands on those responses. And the only response Earthshaker gives to Elder Titan is, well, not very revealing at all. Take a listen.
You forget your true nature, Earthshaker.
So while all these signs point to Elder Titan, the World Smiths, potentially that the Sister Earth was the one that ET shattered, it leads us to a dead end. But when we go and listen to the in-game voice lines, we get to see a whole different picture, with a whole different hero being added into the mix. Outworld Devourer. Odie's lore has always been a huge mystery in the Dota 2 universe. In fact, it is a mystery that got me so excited it caused me to start this series. I used it as the basis for my first Loregasm video. Here's a quick refresher for you. So Odie's home was the world on the rim. Basically, it was at the edge of the universe, the furthest planet from the sun of faraway suns, on the edge of what is, peeking into the abyss of what lies beyond the universe itself. Staring into that void, he felt a force was out there. In the nothingness outside of creation, something was growing that would eventually take shape and try to wreak havoc on the universe. Eventually, he felt the War of the Ancients taking place on our planet in Dota 2. He had that same feeling that something was very wrong, and he went to go check it out. Now, that is the official lore. My theory has always been that the reason he came to our planet is because the force that threatens this planet was one that destroyed his. Take a look at Odie's body. Of course you can see the rocks, but check out the lower part of his body. As you can see, this is flesh, a four-legged animal. With the way the rocks are on him, it almost looks like a cancer, a stone which is growing like tumors, absorbing him. In fact, if we look at other creatures like Enchantress, Leshrac, physical manifestations of a planet's forces of nature, they look very similar to OD. Even Bane, which I plan on making an episode all about in the future, looks just like the creature that OD is. So, as it goes, my old theory on OD was that he was a spirit animal of his planet, much like Enchantress is a spirit animal of ours, but his planet was destroyed by the fighting of the two parasitic rocks that we know and love, the Ancients. He barely made it out alive, corrupted by the result of their battles as they destroyed his planet, and he has come to our world to give us a warning of what happens when their war is allowed to rage on. When the third Ancient rises. Seriously, go watch the first Loregasm. I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, let's go back to the Arcana. Check out Earthshaker's arms, his legs. Do you see a similarity between him and Outworld? Yes, the same kind of rock infestation is beginning to grow on Earthshaker. This, potentially, provides us a link. What if the world on the rim was the sister world of Dota 2? That would make a lot of sense. The sister Earth was destroyed. OD's Earth, in my theory, was destroyed. And OD has come to his sister Earth as a warning of what's to come. Looking at OD's spells versus ES's new effects, they too also look very similar. It's almost like the Arcana is a combination between these three heroes, OD, ES, and ET, together in one form. But to what end? Well, time to go deeper. we have one more outline question from the original Arcana description. Earthshaker has already encountered one interstellar traveler, defeated at great cost, that has sought to eradicate the reborn power of the world awakening inside of him, and he senses more dark forces will soon arrive, intent on completing that task. Now, when I read this and I saw the rocks on ES, I thought to myself, well, that's easy. There's only one interstellar traveler in Dota. All others are interdimensional or inner spirit plane. There's only one dude that has actually traveled through space, and that's OD. In this timeline, OD came to destroy the fragments of his planet that were growing on ES because the rocks are fragments of a planet-destroying cancer, which was the byproduct of the War of the Ancients that took place on his homeworld. Not knowing what was happening, ES defeats OD, and there we go. Simple, explainable, done. But no. As always, it ain't that simple. Again, the Dota 2 wiki at this time of writing does not have the official lines up, but through my personal research, the only line for when ES and OD meet are as follows.
I have seen something approaching from the darkness. Have you seen it too?
Well, that doesn't sound like ES and OD fought at all. In fact, that sounds like they've never even met. Double, in fact, that sounds like whatever entity ES fought and killed might not have even been the same species or likeness to OD. To be frank, this line throws a wrench into pretty much everything I've been talking about. Really, the only explanation that I have for this line is that the creature that Earthshaker fought, the Interstellar Traveler, was somebody completely different or a century from the world on the rim, one of OD's people, but he was fully corrupted into that rock form. Perhaps these creatures are like Outworld, but they're just completely assimilated by the stone that grew on them and they're inherently attracted to Earthshaker. I have no idea why the voice responses for this Arcana seem to give us little to no info on anything. But let's just assume the best, that he actually did fight one of OD's people, because we have a lot more to go through and we gotta move on. Now, with the new heroes and Arcana, Valve has an incredible new system where you can click on a hero several times and they'll tell you a little story about themselves. This story is typically very lore heavy, so of course, we gotta go through the entire thing. Let's do it.
It was Earth, but it was not our Earth. And now it is a part of me. I cannot say now where it came from, but I can feel the place. I know that somewhere, across distances I cannot describe, a world ended. And I know that this world ended in great pain. I know there are lines that must not be crossed, and someone has crossed them. I cannot undo what has been done. I cannot save those who are lost. But I will learn how to cross such great distances and avenge the wrongs done my sister Earth. This I know.
Okay, so this stuff we've covered pretty well so far. The sister Earth of ours died in a horrible way. Earthshaker knows it, and we're moving on.
I am changing. No, I am changed. With what more to come? I felt something in the first days, even before the visions arrived.
Now this is interesting. In the first days of his life, Earthshaker felt that there was something out there, but it faded as other stimuli from the vibrant and living Earth came to him. Very interesting.
But the onset of the dreams, or should I say memories, drove that other strange feeling from my mind. Now, there are changes too striking to ignore, and I can only wonder, what will my sister Earth make of me? Something is coming. I cannot name it, but I know it holds hostility in its heart.
Alright, now this line is exactly like Outworld Devourer's lore. It pretty much confirms that the entity that OD and ES are fighting is the same, and the same fate befell OD's sister Earth.
I know I have met this entity before. In another life, I did not live to tell the tale, but I did pass something on, for here I stand. This time I shall not falter. I will not fall.
Okay, now this is interesting. So the sister Earth had an Earthshaker. who failed to stop that threat. This lends a lot more credence to OD is the Enchantress, or the Leshrac of that Sister Earth theory as well. Basically, these two planets have the same kind of creatures on them, and this just happens in the Dota 2 universe. Very cool, moving on.
I still live. The strange memories I carry still remain. The traveler, trespasser, will never leave this earth. But he is not unique. There are others of his kind who share blame for the death of my sister Earth, and perhaps countless other worlds bereft of champions.
So we get more lines about this traveler and his kind. Again, is this Outworld's people, or is it something else entirely? Is ES mad that Outworld centuries let all this happen to his sister Earth, or is he trying to fight the creature directly responsible for it? We have zero answers to this.
For all my abilities, I have much to learn. When these wounds have healed or grown over, I must find a greater power and venture away from my beloved soil. The cosmic dreams reveal aspects of the path, but the rest is up to me. I will not rest. The fates of many worlds rest in these hands.
Okay, so we see that Earthshaker wants to travel to the stars and find and fight the force that is coming. Or at least he wants to see his sister Earth so that he can understand more about the enemy that he faces. Very interesting. So there you have it. That's basically all the info that we have on the new set and the story behind it. Now I'm gonna do my best to sum all of this up for you with all of my personal theories included, so big headcanon alert here, but let's get rolling explaining this Arcana from the beginning of the Dota 2 universe to where we are now. Long ago, Elder Titan created two Earths, brother and sister, connected by a joint spirit between them. He made a mistake, however, during his creation, and he shattered that spirit between them, plunging both worlds into chaos and making them a magnet for any powerful, strange, or forgotten force, any being in the universe. This magnetism would attract the most powerful beings known as the Ancients, whose rock-based forms would crash into one of those planets. First, the Sister Earth, the world on the rim of the universe. There the Ancients fought, as they had time and time before, but the battle took an exceptionally long time. During their fight, the planet that they battled on became corrupted, forming a new, darker force, a byproduct of their battle. Eventually, the Ancients grew weak from their constant fighting, and the Arc Warden was able to seal them away, breaking a part of the Earth they fought on and creating the Mad Moon, shooting it into the far reaches of space. The planet, now free from Radiant and Dire, was not free from the corruption that they had created. All life on the planet was infected, even the creatures who represented nature, and the planet would eventually be destroyed. The only survivors being the Sentries, warriors who were in charge of protecting the planet from outside invaders, but who were unable to stop the destruction of their world. These Sentries would all eventually be completely corrupted by this cancerous rock, the only one with any willpower to fight off the assimilation being the Outworld Devourer, the old representation of nature itself. The planet's soul, its own Earthshaker, flings a piece of itself to its brother world before perishing along with the planet. The corrupted Sentries go out into the universe, driven mad and with only one mission: to kill any semblance of the world that they once defended. Outworld Devourer travels to warn the Brother Earth and to warn all other life in the universe that something terrible is coming. Fast forward and going to our planet of Dota 2. The Mad Moon is attracted to the brother world, much like the sister planet, as it is too broken by the Elder Titan. Earthshaker forms, but in this timeline he forms with a piece of the meteor which was thrown by his doppelganger Earthshaker on the sister planet, inheriting all of that Earthshaker's memories. He knows that something is coming. The Sentries from the Doom world find him. He defeats one and knows that others are coming. The battle comes at a great cost. He is infected by the parasitic stone, and his time is running out to find and defeat the force that destroyed his other self and his sister Earth. Eventually, the moon breaks, and the Ancients fall to the planet, beginning their war once again. This time, however, they know that Archwarden will simply imprison them if they win, so they decide to rewind time as soon as one of the Ancients achieves victory so that they can trap themselves in a time loop and do what they love doing best, killing each other for all of eternity. Meanwhile, Outworld arrives to warn the heroes that this endless fighting will eventually corrupt and destroy the planet itself. Perhaps it has already begun. Earthshaker knows that if he can learn more and travel to the sister Earth, he can see what happens at the end of this cycle, and perhaps he can find a way to stop it. Whew! Okay, there you go. But wait a second. I told you I would say something that would change everything, that would shake the very foundation of how we think about Dota. This was a very nice story. It fit the Arcana into the world very well, but what's the big shocker? Okay, you ready? Here it is. The Earthshaker Arcana has many things, but one thing I didn't mention is how he holds his totem. Check out this picture. Credit, of course, to Norlan on Reddit. This is, of course, Earthshaker, and the guy next to him is Earthshaker from Dota 1. Now notice how Earthshaker's holding his totem just like the old Earthshaker. Could it be that this is no simple callback? Could it be that this means the world of Dota 1 was the sister Earth? It all makes perfect sense. In Dota 1, the Ancients fought. For years, the planet was just like this one. Spiritual doppelgangers for each hero, very similar to heroes like our own. Each Earth, the planet of Dota 1 and Dota 2, connected in spirit, their fates intertwined. Dota, the original, was the original place the Ancients fought, the sister Earth. And after its canonical destruction, the Ancients moved on to the second planet. The second planet, Dota 2. The reason ES holds his totem in this way is because he has the memories of the Earthshaker from Dota 1. Outworld Devourer is the only surviving hero from Dota 1, and he is in Dota 2. It links the games together. It finally explains why Dota 2 is a sequel. Because all this happened on the Rim world, on the edge of the world. That is Dota 1. This is Dota 2. Incredible. Now, does this mean that Dota 1 lore is now canon? Well, no. That was a different planet, okay? If Animage and Terrorblade's doppelgangers were brothers on the Dota 1 planet, that has nothing to do with our planet, alright? I don't want those emails again. But this is mind-blowing stuff, and it really brings the entire series of Dota in full circle. Alright, so there you go. Now before I leave, let's go over some neat little things the Arcana voice lines give us about Dota 2 lore in general. First up, Earthshaker is starting a brotherhood of all Earth-created creatures.
We should start a club, Kowlin, but best to call it a brotherhood. That sounds much more important.
Check out these lines.
We might consider you, Sand King. I'll speak with Kowlin.
Apparently, he's thinking about inviting Sand King, who was also made by the Earth. Well, sand is sand, but technically it's just really small rocks. He also asked Tiny if Earth Spirit told him something here.
So, Tiny, did Kowlin tell you?
Which might be about inviting him into the Rock Boy group, or asking if Earth Spirit has told him any info on his mysterious creation. But I assume it's all part of the Rock Boy band. Now, whatever Earthshaker is doing, he plans to shake up fate and not let AA, the representation of the heat death of the universe, win.
You just be ready, Calder. I mean to shake things up.
Of course, this could be interpreted as just another reference to the $6 million Echo Slam, but hey, whatever, it sounds neat. Earth Spirit is, as expected, looking for advice on how to travel through space from beings that have done it, like Archwarden.
What can you tell me of traveling the cosmos, Archwarden?
As well as Io.
I have dire need to reach a distant world, Io. Can you aid me?
The Meteor Hammer shares a lot of similarities to this set, and that makes perfect sense as they are both space and rock themed. Even those mysterious runes that we have talked about with the hammer long ago show up in this set now. So, raises the question, was the star storm that the hammer was created from fragments of that sister Earth? It kinda does make sense, and he does call it his celestial brethren when he buys one.
Celestial brethren.
Okay, very strange one here. Every single hero has had a line recorded for the Shitty Wizard. If you don't know, the Shitty Wizard was a model placeholder in the beta days of Dota and became kind of a joke. You can see him on some couriers now. But Valve has recorded every single hero talking about the Shitty Wizard for some reason. This time, however, we get something pretty interesting about the Shitty Wizard.
I've heard whispers of the wizard's return.
Is he coming back?
Shitty wizard.
And that's about it. I think we've covered pretty much everything major that needs to be covered for this Arcana. There are a lot of little jokes and references to real-world events in the Arcana lines, but there's nothing that's really as earth-shaking to the lore as what we've covered above. So, everybody, thank you so... Wait a minute. Oh, I forgot something. Do you guys remember how I told you that since the wiki wasn't updated, I had to go digging for lore lines myself? Well, I did. I listened to every single line in the pack and compared it to all of the triggers that would cause those lines to be read. But I found something strange. Every single line is accounted for, except for rival line 53, 54, and 55. Let's take a listen.
They spoke of your arrival, but now I see you on your way. I had hoped to learn from you. All you've shown me is how to fail. You chose the wrong master.
Now, we had one unsolved mystery of this pack. Who was the visitor that Earthshaker defeated? I tried to explain it, but I'll admit that explanation was pretty weak and pretty far-fetched. Yet these lines, talking about an arrival, him hoping to learn from someone, whoever that someone is serving a master. Could it be that this traveler that Earthshaker fought is coming? And could it be that these three lines are not in the game because this hero is also not in the game just yet? I guess time will tell, but it's the Force Spirit! I'm not messing around, guys. This is the year, mark my words. But not for real. These lines might be referencing a hero that is coming into Dota, a hero that is representing a mystery that we've been trying to solve since Dota 2 came out. And so, that will do it for this episode of Loregasm. Thank you so much for watching.